The galaxy had long whispered about humanity as a minor nuisance, a primitive species that barely scraped the edges of interstellar politics, dismissed by the Grand Council of Zeltri and their allied civilizations as inconsequential, our fleets considered tiny, our technology labeled archaic, our ambitions seen as harmless delusions, yet within the quiet of Earth's orbital command centers. Humans have been preparing for centuries with patience, ingenuity, and an understanding of physics and strategy that no alien mind could easily grasp, starting with the development of modular warships capable of instantaneous adaptation, weapon systems that could alter their firing patterns mid-battle, and artificial intelligence that learned from every encounter far faster than any Council-approved intelligence thought possible. And when the first Council delegation arrived to formally restrict human expansion beyond the Sol system, they carried with them thinly veiled threats, confident in their collective superiority, believing that any defiance would be crushed before it could manifest. And yet, within hours of their speech ending, Earth's ambassador, a woman named Claire Thompson, conveyed to her peers on command bridge the simple truth that humans have been underestimated, that every weapon, every tactic, and every fleet movement have been designed not to provoke, but to endure and observe. And as the Council departed, their ships glimmering against the void, unaware that every sensor sweep, every calculation of human weakness, had been anticipated and logged for the moment when humanity would strike, it became clear that the seeds of disaster had been planted not by us, but by their arrogance, and months passed in a tense calm where humans refined cloaking fields that masked entire planetary installations, quantum disruptors that could render conventional shields obsolete, and propulsion systems that allowed ships to appear in locations the Council considered impossible. And when the first skirmishes began on the outskirts of the Vega sector, the alien fleets, confident and brash, moved in formation expecting to crush what they still saw as insignificant, only to encounter precise ambushes, automated decoys, and coordinated strikes that revealed a human capacity for warfare that no species had predicted. Entire alien squadrons incapacitated by electromagnetic pulses timed to the millisecond, command networks infiltrated by AI that mimic human thought patterns to outmaneuver every tactical decision. And as the alien commanders attempted to regroup, they found entire fleets disappearing from scanners only to strike from unexpected angles. While on the ground, human soldiers exhibited uncanny coordination, using adaptable exosuits and multi-environment combat vehicles to counter superior alien numbers. And across the communications networks, intercepted transmissions revealed shock, disbelief, and panic as Council leaders struggled to comprehend how a species they dismissed as primitive could anticipate their strategies, exploit weaknesses they had considered hidden, and strike with both precision and overwhelming force. And yet, humanity's aim was not mindless destruction, but to demonstrate that the Council's assumptions were fatal, that arrogance in the face of underestimated intelligence and adaptability could be catastrophic. And as weeks turned into months, the galaxy began to see the pattern: alien colonies once considered secure, now vulnerable to surgical strikes, resource lines severed without warning, and the Council's own fleets diverted in frantic attempts to respond to threats they had never predicted, while humans continued to push boundaries of tactical innovation, developing subspace jammers that rendered long-range coordination impossible, adaptive armor that regenerated under fire, and weapons that targeted energy sources the Council had assumed invulnerable, and each success emboldened the human commanders, led by Admiral Lucas Grant and strategist Rachel Morgan, who coordinated operations from mobile command vessels, demonstrating patience, cunning, and an understanding of the alien psyche that no simulation could replicate. And as the first major confrontation approached near the Valeria cluster, the Council's leaders, now fully aware that they had miscalculated, attempted to negotiate. But humanity's response was clear in both action and communication: that any attempt to dominate or intimidate would be met with countermeasures designed with foresight and precision, a revelation that spread through alien ranks like wildfire, sowing doubt, fear, and hesitation where confidence had once reigned. And by the time the human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the cluster, every alien commander knew that the war had shifted irreversibly, that the species they planned to eliminate with ease had become a force of strategy, resilience, and lethal ingenuity beyond their comprehension. And as the first volleys of adaptive torpedoes and energy projectiles struck alien vessels, disabling them before they could return fire, the Council understood that their plan of human defeat had failed not because of brute force, but because they had ignored the one variable they could never predict, the indomitable spirit, creativity, and unity of humanity. And in that moment, as entire battle formations collapsed under the weight of unexpected human tactics, it became undeniable across the void that the Council's hubris had been humanity's greatest ally, that every underestimate, every dismissal, every arrogant calculation had only sharpened the humans' resolve, and as ships continued to vanish into controlled ambushes and colonies awoke to liberated systems, the galaxy witnessed for the first time the devastating consequence of thinking a species could never rise beyond its apparent limitations, and humanity, having endured centuries of scrutiny, threats, and marginalization, revealed in one coordinated, unstoppable campaign that their true power lay not only in technology and strategy, but in an unyielding will survive, adapt, and dominate, rewriting the rules of engagement for every civilization that had once scoffed at their potential. And in the aftermath of the first decisive battles, alien commanders could only watch in stunned silence as humans, having anticipated every move, every assumption, and every weakness, demonstrated that underestimation of humanity came at a price no one in the galaxy had been prepared to pay. The shock waves of humanity's initial victories rippled across the galaxy, forcing the Council to scramble every available resource in an attempt to patch their failing strategies. Yet each effort only highlighted the depths of their miscalculation, as humans had anticipated not just immediate tactics, but long-term consequences, establishing hidden supply chains on remote moons, constructing mobile repair stations capable of sustaining entire fleets far from Earth, and implementing decentralized command networks that allowed ships to operate autonomously with near-perfect coordination. And as the alien fleets advanced toward the Koroth expanse, expecting to trap the human forces in a decisive engagement, they instead encountered perfectly timed retreats, feigned vulnerabilities, and precision counterattacks that dismantled entire squadrons before they could regroup, while intelligence officers aboard the human flagship monitored alien communications, deciphering Council protocols and predicting chain-of-command decisions almost as if they were reading the Council's minds. And on the planetary fronts, humans demonstrated an uncanny ability to convert civilian infrastructure into tactical advantages, creating adaptable fortifications, concealed artillery platforms, and rapid deployment vehicles that turned every engagement into a strategic nightmare for the invaders. And every Council scientist or strategist who had once dismissed humanity now faced the unthinkable: a species capable of turning disadvantage into advantage with such speed, adaptability, and ruthlessness that no prior simulation could replicate. And as Admiral Lucas Grant oversaw coordinated strikes across multiple sectors, supported by Rachel Morgan's predictive modeling that accounted for every possible alien response, alien commanders began to fracture under the stress, making mistakes that compounded with every encounter, while human engineers continued to introduce innovations mid-battle, deploying drones that adapted to enemy maneuvers in real time, energy shields that learned and countered projectile velocities, and weapons that exploited minute flaws in alien armor previously thought impenetrable. And as months passed, the human offensive expanded beyond simple retaliation into full-scale domination of contested systems, forcing alien populations to retreat behind hastily fortified positions, while humans exploited gaps in logistics, striking where least expected and destabilizing entire sectors with surgical precision. And as word of human victory spread, fear and confusion replaced arrogance across the Council. Alliances that had seemed unbreakable dissolved under the psychological weight of human unpredictability. And even the most advanced alien strategists struggled to comprehend how a civilization they had considered primitive could not only survive, but excel under pressure, turning each attack into a learning opportunity, and every encounter into a demonstration of ingenuity and resilience. While back on Earth, civilian populations contributed in ways the Council had never considered, scientists developing new defensive technologies, engineers retrofitting vessels with superior propulsion systems, and pilots and soldiers executing maneuvers with near-superhuman coordination and trust, all under the careful orchestration of human leadership that combined tactical genius with understanding of morale and psychological warfare. And as human forces approached the critical Gravitas Cluster, an alien stronghold considered untouchable, the Council made a desperate attempt to regroup, sending fleets in concentrated formations that they believed could overwhelm isolated human forces. only to encounter perfectly anticipated ambushes, energy nets that disrupted communication, and countermeasures that exploited the smallest tactical errors. And as the battle raged, entire alien formations were decimated, leaders captured or forced into retreat, and the narrative that humanity was weak and inferior shattered across the galaxy, while humans continued to advance with relentless precision, demonstrating that their strength was not in brute force alone, but in preparation, adaptability, and the ability to exploit arrogance. And as the Gravitas Cluster fell under human control, Council leaders could only watch in disbelief, realizing that their underestimation had allowed a species they once mocked to master every aspect of warfare, turning what was meant to be a swift conquest into a display of human dominance. And in every sector, alien populations whispered in fear and awe, as humans proved not just capable of defense, but decisive, overwhelming, and strategically flawless offense, rewriting the rules of galactic engagement, and setting the stage for a campaign that would leave the Council scrambling to survive against a species they had never taken seriously until it was far too late to reverse the consequences. With the Gravitas Cluster secured, humanity shifted from tactical skirmishes to strategic domination, exploiting weaknesses in supply lines, communications, and command hierarchies that the Council had assumed untouchable, and as Admiral Lucas Grant coordinated simultaneous assaults across multiple fronts. Human fleets demonstrated an ability to divide and overwhelm alien forces with precision that seemed impossible, striking not only at military assets, but also at logistical hubs, energy depots, and orbital control centers, rendering entire systems defenseless before alien commanders could adapt. While on the ground, human soldiers utilized adaptive combat strategies, combining stealth, rapid mobility, and advanced weaponry to neutralize entrenched alien positions, turning every engagement into a calculated demonstration of human ingenuity and resilience. And as the Council's leaders convened in emergency sessions, frantic to devise a countermeasure, intercepted communications, revealed confusion, desperation, and panic, as their previous assumptions of human inferiority were obliterated by relentless evidence of tactical brilliance, psychological acumen, and technological superiority. And within the human command network, Rachel Morgan's predictive models anticipated every likely response, every potential retreat, and every attempt at deception, enabling coordinated strikes that exploited hesitation and fear, while humans continued to innovate, deploying cloaked reconnaissance drones that mapped alien movements in real time, adaptive shields that countered new weapon types almost instantly, and energy weapons capable of targeting vulnerabilities in alien armor previously considered indestructible. And as months of continuous operations unfolded, alien fleets were fragmented, colonies abandoned or occupied, and the Council's political alliances began to fracture under the weight of repeated defeats, while the humans' methodical, patient approach ensured that every victory compounded the next, tightening their grip on contested systems. And as news of human successes spread, fear rippled through allied species, some attempting defection or negotiation, others preparing desperate last stands. Yet in each case, human forces demonstrated restraint and calculated precision, striking only when strategically necessary, maintaining a balance between overwhelming power and disciplined control that alien species had never encountered. And as humanity pressed further into the Cold War territories, targeting critical nodes of Council influence, alien leaders realized that their strategies, once considered infallible, had been rendered obsolete, and the arrogance that had fueled their plans of rapid conquest now became their undoing, while human scientists and engineers continued to refine weapons and defenses mid-conflict, implementing adaptive technologies that evolved in real time, creating a dynamic battlefield where humans responded faster, predicted more accurately, and maneuvered with flexibility beyond any alien expectation. And across liberated systems, human leadership established governance that integrated captured knowledge, resources, and infrastructure, ensuring that each victory strengthened long-term operational capacity rather than merely achieving short-term tactical gains. As alien commanders watched entire fleets vanish into coordinated ambushes, communications networks crumble under targeted disruption, and planets liberated by minimal human losses, the scope of humanity's strategic mastery became undeniable, illustrating that the species once dismissed as primitive had leveraged underestimation, ingenuity, and relentless discipline to redefine the balance of power in the galaxy. And by the time the first Council counteroffensive was attempted, it was already too late, as humans anticipated every maneuver, adapted to every threat, and maintained control over key systems and choke points, leaving the alien leaders scrambling for solutions that no longer existed. And throughout the galaxy, it became evident that humanity had not only survived the Council schemes but had turned arrogance against them, creating a precedent that every civilization would remember. The species underestimated that their peril would rise with precision, foresight, and an unstoppable combination of strategy, innovation, and unyielding determination. And in every corner of the contested territories, humans consolidated gains, coordinated fleet movements with flawless timing, and leveraged adaptive technologies to maintain superiority, ensuring that every action reinforced both the psychological and strategic dominance of a species once dismissed but now feared, respected, and unstoppable. As humanity expanded its influence deeper into Council-controlled sectors, the alien civilizations began to grasp the full extent of their miscalculation, realizing that every assumption they had made about human limitations was catastrophically flawed. And with each engagement, humans revealed layers of strategy previously thought impossible, combining intelligence operations, fleet coordination, and planetary defense in ways that blurred the line between offense and preparation. And on the front lines, soldiers executed maneuvers that exploited psychological and cultural patterns of alien adversaries, understanding tendencies, rituals, and command structures that allowed them to predict behavior almost instinctively, while Admiral Lucas Grant coordinated simultaneous operations across dozens of systems, employing decoys, electronic warfare, and multi-vector assaults to immobilize superior enemy numbers without engaging directly. And as Rachel Morgan monitored adaptive countermeasures, her models anticipated every alien response before it occurred, feeding actionable intelligence to every commander in real time, allowing human forces to strike with devastating efficiency. And alien fleets, once confident in overwhelming superiority, found themselves fractured, confused, and unable to adapt as humans exploited communication delays, logistical vulnerabilities, and the psychological stress of repeated failures, while humans maintained operational security, advanced technology deployment, and precise timing that ensured each attack compounded on previous victories, creating a cascade of defeat across Council territories. And on liberated planets, civilian populations rallied to support human forces, using local knowledge to establish supply networks, hidden observation posts, and improvised defenses that enhanced strategic effectiveness, while alien scientists scrambled to reverse engineer human technology, only to discover that every advancement had been designed for adaptability and concealment, rendering replication almost impossible and forcing the Council to rely on outdated methods. And as the Gravitas Cluster and neighboring systems were fully secured, the alien leadership convened emergency war councils, attempting to coordinate a unified response, only to find human intelligence had anticipated these moves, intercepting communications and feeding misinformation that further destabilized their command structure. And across the galaxy, whispers of humanity's ingenuity, coordination, and resilience spread, causing allied civilizations to reconsider their positions, some defecting to human-aligned operations while others prepared to surrender under threat of annihilation. And as humans launched coordinated strikes against remaining fortified positions, employing adaptive energy weapons, automated drone swarms, and subspace-disrupting devices that disabled enemy fleets mid-battle, alien commanders were forced into retreat, and entire colonies fell without significant human casualties, demonstrating not only military superiority, but the calculated efficiency of human strategy. While back on Earth, scientists and engineers continue to innovate, introducing new technologies mid-campaign, including rapid deployment repair stations, cloaking grids for entire fleets, and autonomous command protocols that allowed multiple fronts to be managed seamlessly without human error. And as months turned into years of sustained operations, the Council's arrogance dissolved into desperation, fear, and fragmented coordination, while humans consolidated gains, established forward command structures, and refined their logistical networks to maintain pressure. And as the first large-scale alien counteroffensive approached near the cerulean verge, expecting to trap human forces in an overwhelming strike, they instead encountered prepositioned ambushes, deceptive tactics, and adaptive weaponry that neutralized their numbers and morale, while human commanders executed maneuvers that integrated planetary, orbital, and fleet operations into a single fluid strategy, demonstrating the full spectrum of human innovation and strategic foresight. And as the alien fleets began to falter under coordinated assaults and unforeseen technological superiority, it became increasingly clear that the species they had planned to eradicate with ease had turned every assumption, every plan, and every calculation against them, revealing that humanity's greatest weapon had never been simply technology or firepower, but their ability to anticipate, adapt, and execute with precision beyond any measure the Council had ever considered. And across the galaxy, the message spread that the underestimated species had risen, showing not just a capacity for survival, but the ability to dominate, strategize, and reshape the balance of power with relentless determination and unyielding brilliance. The relentless human advance continued to rewrite the map of the galaxy, as every sector previously assumed secure by the Council fell under the careful, coordinated assault of Earth's fleets, demonstrating that the arrogance of centuries had blinded alien civilizations to the full scope of humanity's capability. And as Admiral Lucas Grant oversaw simultaneous operations across dozens of contested systems, humans exploited every weakness the Council had taken for granted, executing combined arms operations that integrated orbital bombardments, subspace interference, cyber infiltration, and planetary sieges into seamless campaigns that left alien commanders scrambling in disbelief, while Rachel Morgan refined predictive models that incorporated behavioral patterns, historical tendencies, and even psychological pressure points, enabling preemptive strikes that dismantled entire formations before they could respond. And on the ground, human forces displayed unparalleled ingenuity, employing adaptive exosuits, modular vehicles, and deployable automated defenses that turned even modest numbers into overwhelming advantages, while alien troops, conditioned by centuries of dominance, found themselves trapped by tactics that exploited their own rigid doctrines, exposed their flanks to unexpected counterattacks, and rendered their numerical superiority meaningless. And as the human fleet penetrated the outer Helios belt, targeting the vital supply depots and command nodes of the Council, alien leaders convened emergency councils, attempting to coordinate a unified counteroffensive, only to discover that humans had anticipated the meeting locations, timing, and methods of communication, enabling surgical strikes that crippled leadership before orders could propagate, while behind enemy lines, covert human units disrupted logistics, sabotaged energy sources, and captured strategic points without detection, creating cascading effects that paralyzed entire regions. And as months of sustained operations unfolded, the psychological impact of repeated failure began to erode the morale of alien forces, while human leadership leveraged this advantage, applying calculated pressure to force retreats, surrenders, and defection, consolidating control with minimal loss of life while maximizing strategic leverage. And as the cerulean verge fell to human occupation, a region long considered impenetrable, alien fleets and planetary defenses collapsed under precise, coordinated strikes that demonstrated humanity's mastery of combined arms warfare, adaptive technology, and strategic foresight. And across liberated worlds, human engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to establish infrastructure, repair damage, and integrate captured technology, enhancing operational efficiency and preparing for the next phase of the campaign. While Admiral Grant and Rachel Morgan continued to refine tactical and strategic frameworks, incorporating lessons learned from each encounter to further amplify human advantage, and as the Council attempted to regroup, sending fleets from distant systems to reinforce threatened sectors, they encountered ambushes, minefields, and decoy operations so flawlessly executed that entire fleets were neutralized before they could engage meaningfully, and civilians across human-occupied regions contributed intelligence, logistics, and innovation, turning every victory into a foundation for further advances, while alien leaders watched in growing despair as the species they once deemed inferior not only survived, but dominated with a combination of foresight, adaptability, and relentless precision. And by the time the Council realized the magnitude of their miscalculation, humanity had established control over critical interstellar choke points, disrupted supply chains, and demonstrated a level of strategic mastery that forced every alien civilization to reconsider its assumptions about the so-called primitive species. While across the galaxy, the message was clear: Humanity, underestimated for centuries, had evolved into a force of precision, intelligence, and unyielding dominance, capable of turning arrogance into vulnerability and rewriting the rules of interstellar power forever. As humanity pressed further into Core War territories, every engagement revealed more of the Council's underestimation, as alien forces struggled to comprehend the combination of human strategic foresight, adaptive technology, and relentless coordination, and Admiral Lucas Grant orchestrated multi-sector campaigns that integrated planetary assaults, orbital blockades, cyber warfare, and subspace manipulation, ensuring that each battle reinforced human dominance while simultaneously degrading enemy capabilities, while Rachel Morgan's predictive models allowed human forces to anticipate the Council's every maneuver, exploiting command delays, fractured communications, and predictable responses to create traps that neutralized even the most formidable alien contingents. And on the ground, human soldiers leveraged modular exosuits, rapid deployment vehicles, and adaptive weaponry to transform urban, jungle, and desert landscapes into tactical advantages, while alien troops found themselves repeatedly outmaneuvered. Their numbers are relevant against the flexibility, coordination, and ingenuity of human units, and as months turned into years of continuous operations, entire systems fell under human control with precision strikes that minimized civilian casualties while maximizing strategic disruption, capturing critical infrastructure, energy grids, and fleet assembly points, and in every sector, alien commanders discovered that no contingency had been overlooked. No defensive plan was sufficient against a human combination of prediction, adaptation, and relentless pressure, while across liberated colonies, civilian populations supported human operations, creating intelligence networks, supply caches, and hidden repair facilities that expanded the operational reach of human forces far beyond conventional projections. And as the campaign approached the Hiran Expanse, a sector considered the Council's last strategic stronghold, humans deployed decoy fleets, adaptive drone swarms, and energy-disrupting technologies that rendered superior alien numbers ineffective, while infiltration teams sabotaged command hubs and disrupted fleet coordination, leaving enemy units disorganized, demoralized, and vulnerable to precisely timed strikes, and as alien leadership convened in desperation to salvage their collapsing campaign. Human forces anticipated their decisions, intercepting communications, countering reinforcements, and creating a series of simultaneous crises that stretched the Council's resources to breaking point. And across the galaxy, the psychological impact of repeated defeats and unexpected human tactics spread fear, doubt, and disarray among allied species, some seeking negotiation, others defecting, while humans continued their methodical approach, consolidating gains, repairing infrastructure, and refining strategies based on the evolving battlefield, ensuring that each victory not only expanded control but reinforced operational superiority. And as the Hiran Expanse fell under coordinated human occupation, alien fleets were shattered, energy nodes destroyed, and command networks incapacitated, demonstrated that the species they had underestimated had not only survived but mastered the art war in ways beyond Council comprehension, while humans pushed further into remaining strongholds, adapting to every countermeasure, exploiting every weakness, and executing maneuvers that combined speed, precision, and psychological pressure to undermine morale. And throughout the galaxy, the narrative of human ingenuity, coordination, and unyielding resolve spread, reshaping perception of a species once dismissed, while Admiral Grant and Rachel Morgan continued to orchestrate campaigns with calculated patience and relentless execution, proving that underestimation of humanity was the Council's greatest mistake. And as fleets maneuvered, planets fell and entire sectors realigned under human influence, it became increasingly clear that the underestimated species had achieved a level of dominance and strategic foresight that no civilization had anticipated, turning arrogance into vulnerability and securing humanity's place as a decisive and unstoppable force in the galaxy, while alien leaders faced the grim reality that every plan, every projection, and every assumption had been anticipated, countered, and neutralized, leaving them powerless against a species that had mastered the art of anticipation, adaptation, and overwhelming strategic execution. And as humans consolidated control over the Core War territories, the full scope of their triumph became undeniable, illustrating that resilience, ingenuity, and precise coordination could transform an underestimated species into the ultimate arbiter of galactic power, leaving the Council with the bitter lesson that hubris in the face of underestimated potential was a mistake from which there could be no recovery. With the Cold War territories firmly under human control, the final phase of the campaign began, as humans leveraged every advantage gained through years of meticulous preparation, adaptation, and calculated aggression to dismantle the remaining strongholds of the Council, and as Admiral Lucas Grant directed fleet movements across multiple hyperspace corridors. Human forces struck with precision at alien supply depots, command centers, and defensive installations, employing adaptive energy, weapons, subspace jammers, and autonomous drone swarms that rendered conventional alien defenses obsolete, while Rachel Morgan predictive models allowed human commanders to anticipate Council responses hours, sometimes days, in advance, creating opportunities to encircle, isolate, and neutralize even the most formidable concentrations of enemy power. And on planetary surfaces, human soldiers utilized advanced exosuits, modular assault vehicles, and rapid deployment artillery to convert terrain into strategic advantage, exploiting the rigidity of alien military doctrine and turning every engagement into a demonstration of ingenuity, coordination, and overwhelming effectiveness, while alien commanders, despite centuries of tactical training, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn, their fleets scattered, their ground forces disoriented, and their communications compromised. And as humans continue to press the offensive, liberating colonies, securing hyperspace lanes, and establishing forward operating bases, the psychological impact on alien populations and leadership grew, fear, doubt, and despair spreading faster than any human weapon, while civilians rallied to support human operations, providing intelligence, supplies, and logistical assistance that amplified the reach and effectiveness of human campaigns. And as alien leadership attempted desperate counterattacks, they encountered meticulously prepared ambushes, precision strikes, and adaptive defensive measures that neutralized their advantages, leaving them unable to regroup or execute coordinated maneuvers. And throughout the galaxy, stories of human ingenuity, patience, and relentless determination spread, reshaping perceptions of a species once dismissed as weak and primitive, while humans continue to innovate mid-campaign, introducing new technologies, automated command protocols, and adaptive weapons that responded in real time to alien tactics, creating an evolving battlefield where every encounter reinforced human superiority. And as the final Council strongholds were isolated, besieged, and systematically dismantled, human forces demonstrated not only their mastery of warfare, but their understanding of psychology, logistics, and strategy on a scale no civilization had previously witnessed. And as Admiral Grant coordinated the final orbital strikes, Rachel Morgan ensured that every maneuver, from fleet positioning to ground force deployment, was optimized for maximum efficiency and minimal casualties, while alien leaders faced the unthinkable. A species they had underestimated had anticipated, adapted to, and ultimately surpassed every calculation, turning arrogance, overconfidence, and dismissiveness into catastrophic vulnerabilities. And as human fleets breached the last defensive perimeters, neutralized command hubs, and secured critical energy and transportation nodes, alien forces crumbled in disarray, with entire fleets surrendering or retreating in disorganized fragments, while human soldiers established control over liberated territories, integrating captured infrastructure and technology to expand operational reach and consolidate gains. And across the galaxy, the narrative became clear. Humanity, underestimated for centuries, had transformed underestimation into a strategic weapon, turning every Council assumption against them, demonstrating that resilience, ingenuity, coordination, and foresight were more decisive than raw numbers or ancient technology. And as the final resistance pockets fell, human forces held the galaxy's attention, establishing themselves as a dominant power, while alien civilizations were forced to confront the reality that their hubris had enabled a rise of a species that could adapt, endure, and dominate with precision, intelligence, and unyielding resolve. And the Council's miscalculation became a cautionary tale of arrogance, illustrating that no species should ever underestimate humanity, for the consequences were not merely defeat, but total and irreversible domination. And across liberated systems, humans consolidated authority, repaired damage, and prepared for a future defined by the lessons of strategy, unity, and the undeniable proof that underestimated potential, when combined with foresight and relentless execution, could reshape the balance of power across the galaxy. With the Council's remnants scattered and their fleets shattered, humanity's dominance across the galaxy was complete, not through mindless conquest, but through precise, calculated strategy, adaptive technology, and unyielding discipline. And as Admiral Lucas Grant oversaw the final operations to secure key systems, humanity demonstrated a mastery of warfare that combined orbital, planetary, and subspace tactics in a seamless network of coordinated actions, while Rachel Morgan continued to refine predictive models that anticipated every possible alien response, allowing human forces to preempt threats, neutralize resistance, and consolidate power with remarkable efficiency. And on every liberated planet, human soldiers and engineers established command centers, repaired infrastructure, and integrated capture technology into operational frameworks that enhance fleet coordination, resource distribution, and defensive capability, while alien populations, once confident in their superiority, now faced the full consequence of underestimating humans, witnessing firsthand a species that could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast any adversary. And as the last pockets of resistance crumbled under the relentless pressure of coordinated assaults, humans displayed a combination of restraint, strategic foresight, and tactical brilliance, demonstrating that their victories were not born of recklessness, but of disciplined intelligence, adaptability, and a deep understanding of the consequences of every action. And as fleets moved to secure hyperspace corridors, alien command nodes, and energy hubs, humans leveraged both advanced technology and psychological insight, anticipating countermeasures, exploiting hesitation, and turning every weakness into an advantage. While back on Earth, scientists, strategists, and civilians worked tirelessly to support operations, ensuring a sustainable and efficient expansion of human influence across the galaxy. And as the Council's leadership attempted to negotiate, they discovered that humanity's aim had never been mere retaliation, but decisive demonstration of superiority and strategic mastery, a calculated revelation that any underestimation carried catastrophic consequences. And as the last alien strongholds were neutralized, humans established governance, stabilized systems, and integrated alien infrastructure and knowledge into a framework that ensured both security and long-term dominance. While across the galaxy, the narrative of human ingenuity, resilience, and relentless adaptability spread, reshaping interstellar perception and rewriting the rules of engagement. And as the final fleets returned to human-controlled space, every action, from tactical strikes to planetary occupation, reinforced a singular truth, that the species the Council had dismissed as primitive had risen through foresight, coordination, and unbreakable resolve to become the defining power of the galaxy. And alien leaders, humbled, fractured, and defeated, were forced to acknowledge that their hubris had enabled their own downfall, that arrogance against an underestimated species could result in total collapse, and that humanity's combination of strategy, innovation, and unity could not be countered once fully unleashed. And as humans secured their borders, reinforced defenses, and prepared for a future where their dominance would be absolute, the galaxy recognized a new era had begun, one defined by the consequences of dismissing a species capable of turning every underestimate, every slight, and every miscalculation into a demonstration of overwhelming power, strategic brilliance, and unyielding determination. And the final lesson echoed across star systems, colonies, and fleets. Humanity, underestimated for too long, had proven that they could survive, adapt, and dominate, leaving no doubt that the species once considered insignificant now held the ultimate authority. And in the wake of their triumph, the Council and every alien civilization understood that to challenge humanity again would not merely risk defeat, but total annihilation. And the galaxy, forever changed, would remember that humans were a force that could never be underestimated, a civilization whose ingenuity, foresight, and resilience had rewritten the balance of power, leaving humanity unchallenged, revered, and unstoppable.